Hi, I'm Mark Beck.
And I'm Stephanie Thompson.
And I'm Megan Solis. We're coming to you from Sunset Plaza here in Kalispell, Montana.
And this is Selling Montana, a podcast about business, real estate, and entrepreneurship, specifically to Montana. And we have an excellent guest here, Mr. Rowdy Fee with Goosehead Insurance.
Yes, sir.
From Kalispell, Montana, correct?
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Make sure you really
talk into the mic.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. This is my first time doing anything like this.
Oh, that's
I did
okay.
a radio thing a long time ago, and it was horrible.
This
so,
isn't
really
this
try
isn't
and do my
radio.
best.
This has got video with it too,
Yeah,
so it's
some people-
twice
No
as
pressure.
worse.
Great. Yeah, no, don't freak out. Don't freak out. No, but yeah, I'm going to do my best. Let's see what we can do.
Right on. Okay, well, so you are an insurance agent, but you grew up here in Kalispell?
Yeah, so I was technically born in Wyoming. I mean, I guess not technically. I was born in Wyoming. My mom's family is from here, and we moved here when I was like 13, 14 years old.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's where I grew
So
up.
you
what I consider home.
yeah, you've lived over half your life here. I've lived over half my life in Montana, so
Yeah.
I consider that growing up
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is where
totally.
like my mom's family is all from. So
Nice.
always would come up here and visit. And when my mom was like, "I'm ready to move home," I was like, "Let's go."
Yeah.
Wyoming,
Very
Montana, is that like very different or kind of the same?
not
What,
necessarily. Yeah.
what town in Wyoming?
I was right outside of Cody.
Oh,
Or
very
actually
good.
in Cody, but
My whole family lives in Thermop.
okay. Yeah. So we spent a lot of time there when
Yeah.
I was growing up too. Just the hot springs.
Yep,
'cause
totally.
it's-
I've never been to Wyoming,
What?
actually. It's like one of the few states I haven't been to.
I went in 8th grade, but I don't remember that much about it.
Huh.
So,
I
yeah.
guess it's not like a destination except for
Like Jackson Hole.
Yeah, Jackson
Cody.
Hole. Yeah.
Cody's pretty
Yeah.
touristy too. We went back this summer for my mom's birthday because I've got a brother that lives there still.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice. Like took my wife too, and so she got to kind of see it. And we took a couple cruises. I was like, oh, I remember that, and that
Yeah.
park, and all that stuff. But yeah, I had a buddy actually call me this morning. He's on his way to Jackson Hole, which we spent some time there too. And
Yeah.
I love that town. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, you got to
Fun.
go here. You got to go here.
lots
There's
of
a nice-
museums, lots of
Yeah.
rodeo stuff.
It looks beautiful. I've only seen pictures, but yeah, I should go and ski because it's a ski town, right?
Jackson is. Yeah.
Jackson
Jackson's
is.
a pretty
If you
big city.
drive, be careful. Wyoming has more highway patrol than any other state,
Oh.
actually.
They're all over.
And
the
they're
place.
allowed to hide in that state.
Oh boy.
So I've gotten
So,
more
are
tickets.
you allowed to
in
have a
Wyoming.
radar? Are you allowed to have a radar detector there?
Yes.
My
Okay.
brother always used to have one. When,
Yeah.
They
when
usually
he was
have
in high
two
school.
hiding, so
Yeah.
they'll
my
get you the
gosh.
person speeding in front of you. Anyways,
Little
side note. See,
trapsters.
we're already digressing.
Yeah, see, yeah, we are.
It's okay.
Well, so where'd you go to school here?
I went to Flathead, and that was the last year before the high schools were split here, so I was the last class. I mean, I guess technically 2008
So,
was the last class.
Did we all go to school together?
Did
Probably.
we
No,
graduate
because-
together then? No, I think are you 06?
I was 07.
Oh, 07.
Oh,
okay.
you're okay.
Yeah, so,
So I was
07,
yeah.
08, they didn't divide 08, but
You got to
Yeah.
stay like at Flathead, like you
Yep.
were the last one that got to stay. Okay,
Yeah.
we were
We're
part
09.
of the first when they split it.
Yeah.
we
But-
ended up from Flathead to Glacier.
I never went to
you,
Flathead
You didn't. Okay,
because I moved from Washington State
right.
junior year, the year that it
Yeah.
opened. I moved that summer, so then I never went to Flathead. I went to
Yeah.
Glacier
Yeah.
year one.
yeah, so
Crazy.
the
Okay.
08 graduating class was the year that like they didn't split that class, but
Right.
that was the year that Glacier opened.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
don't think they had a senior
Yeah.
class.
they did not.
We didn't. Yeah.
we did not.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
Yeah. So so you're a Flathead kid.
yep.
I'm just kidding.
I was Flathead too.
Flathead.
06.
yeah, and then like we live in Summers now, so my two kids, I mean, unless like by the time they're in high school, if there's still nothing else, they'll that way.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
they'll be flat.
I got a feeling we'll have another high school. I kind of think
You
they
think?
messed up there. I think they. I was talking to Tony Brockman about this. He's like, they should have got rid of Flathead. He's gonna kill me for saying it. They should have got rid of Flathead and built and not done Glacier and done one that was like 3 times the size. And
That's what I said because
true.
I lived in Idaho for like a brief period, about 2 years, 3 years, between Wyoming and here.
Yeah.
And that's what they did in the little town that I lived in.
Really?
Basically, they needed a new high school, and
Yeah.
so they moved the middle school to the old high school and built this huge high
That's-
school.
Wow.
that's probably what should have happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
And that's what I said, because when I was a sophomore here, that happened my freshman year. I went to that brand new high school for about 2 months before we moved here. But my sophomore year here, they were talking about the bond and all that stuff for
Yeah.
Glacier.
Yeah.
And that was one of my suggestions because that's just what I had just experienced in Idaho. And I was like, oh, maybe
See,
build just one bigger school.
Yeah.
yeah, and Glacier's not that big. When you go in it, it's
it's
not
really
that big
not.
of a school. And
Remember when we had the superintendent on our podcast too? He
Yep.
talked about the limit of how many kids they could have in each high school, and they were actually really similar.
yeah,
Like in how much they could per fire code.
they're
about the same
They're
size.
about the same size of a school, and
Yeah.
I think the problem is just raising money. Montanans
Yeah.
don't like to. They have a hard time
Yeah.
raising money for
We haven't
things like
passed a
schools.
levy in
Yeah.
many, many years.
Yeah, and
True.
it's like, it takes money to
Mm-hmm.
do this stuff.
The school district already owns land though next to Rankin, that empty field that's in between that and the apartments getting built. That actually is like a designated maybe high school in future.
And
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah,
Probably
We
have
need
to.
one south of town,
Yeah,
honestly.
because with
Yeah.
where Flathead is pretty centrally located and then Glacier is pretty much north of town, it's like we need something south.
Yeah. And they also own more land on Whitefish Stage, like north of Reserve too.
Oh, really?
So
I did not know
Yeah.
that.
North of Reserve. Interesting.
Yeah.
like the old semi tool, like over
Yeah.
that way.
As if we need more on Whitefish
Yeah.
Stage.
I know.
Yeah.
Literally. I don't think that it could handle
Whitefish
another high
Stage
school
and
over there.
Reserve.
Oh,
Yeah.
Almost
No.
any time of the day, I just
they'd
try
have
to avoid
to
it.
change the road first.
Yeah.
Totally. Totally.
Expand it. I mean, this
Yeah.
valley is just growing, and that's just
It
part
is
of it.
crazy.
You know,
Yeah.
and so like I can see a third high school coming
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah. Anytime.
So
What's since we're talking about high school, and I'm thinking of insurance and drivers. What are you looking at on the numbers like that now?
expensive for young
expensive.
drivers.
Yeah.
Actually, but my buddy that was on
Got
his
one
way
right
to,
now.
yeah, my buddy that was on his way to Jackson Hole. That's basically what he was calling to tell me is he's like, hey, my oldest son got his driver's license today. What do we do? And I was like, start saving money. I was like,
Oh my
you're going down
gosh.
there to check out a job, tack on extra. Yeah, just young drivers. It's unfortunate. They're expensive.
You still get a discount if you get good grades.
A lot of carriers do offer that.
Okay.
And so basically what
3.0 or
happens,
above, yeah.
yeah, so basically what happens is I'm an independent agent, so I have multiple agencies or multiple carriers to work with. So depending on what carrier you have currently, when you add a young driver, we check the rate and, hey, if it's going to go up $350 a month or something like that, let's look at another option. And we have some that are really good with young drivers. And then usually I always suggest utilizing like a telemetrics program, tracking program. And a lot of carriers do offer that, and it's really good to utilize that for young drivers.
Yeah.
Good
So
for
that
the
if they
discount.
are driving safely, it helps with the rate kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, and there's been times too where I have a family actually that has like multiple teenage drivers, like 4 of them at a time.
Oh
I was
my
like,
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I basically did was like, do the kids drive the parents' vehicles? And they were like, no, we won't drive the parents' vehicles. And so I looked at the rate of adding the kids and the kids' cars to the parents' policy. And I mean, it was like $900 a month or something like that overall
Yeah.
price. I mean, you got to think there was like 4 of them on there.
Yeah.
That's your
3
future.
teenage boys.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, start saving money now. But basically, what we did was I talked to multiple carriers and talked to the current carrier that I had the parents insured with. It was a nice bundle rate, auto, home, all that stuff. And I was like, could we exclude the children from this policy because they won't be driving the parents' car, and then just start like start another policy with another carrier. And then talk to the carrier that I was quoting, and they were like, yeah, that's fine, but one of the parents still has to be an insured driver on that policy, just because they've been 16 years
Underage,
younger drivers, they can't have, you have to be, I think 18 or 19 in the state of Montana to have one in your own name. So took one of the parents and put them as a licensed driver, but then just did all the kids' cars. And they were still spending like $800 a month between the 2 policies, but it saved them $100. So it's like one of those things.
I think that's what we did too.
It was a little bit more to keep track of, but it's something that can be done. And as long as both carriers are kind of good with it, you explain the situation. So there's not overlap or anything like that.
I mean, I guess that's what obviously I know you through, business insurance and all that, but that's a huge benefit for someone to choose going with an insurance brokerage like yourself, right? Is because you can show them, instead of them just calling 1-800 this insurance company, you can actively compare that carrier versus 5 or 6 others and say, hey, no, this one's your best rate.
Yeah.
And that those companies are paying you for that service, right? Like it's not coming out of pocket from the consumer.
Correct. Yeah. So what? Yeah, like the consumer, I'm a no fee agency, even though my last name is Rowdy Fee. It's kind of funny.
I know it's tricky there.
Like I don't charge fees for anything like
You
that.
gotta think of that. That's funny.
But yeah, so it's that's
you
how
should
most
do your
carriers
no fee Rowdy. That should be your that's your slogan. No fee Rowdy.
Sure.
yeah, and then the name being Rowdy Fee, it's
Yeah.
like a wild charge is what I tell people. But
Oh my
but
That's funny.
yeah, so basically I sell somebody one carrier. There's the carrier pays me a commission of that, and so it's a portion of that, and that's how I get paid. I don't sell you a policy and then go, okay, hey, you owe me money now,
Right.
Sure.
like that. So it's all through the carriers.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
And then having a bunch of carriers, we have options like that. I think I'm over. Like, in fact, I've got a new carrier coming on tomorrow. I'm supposed to be sitting in on. No, it's today, and then we can start issuing that policy tomorrow. And it's like a 1:00 thing for a new carrier that we're bringing on.
Nice.
So we're always expanding. That's one thing that's really nice about Goosehead, and that was kind of what made me want to join them, is the fact that they had multiple options. Like when I joined Goosehead 2 years ago, I think it was like 35 carriers, and we're up over 40.
Wow.
So
Wow.
multiple options to really fit
Awesome.
any need. The new carrier that I'm sitting in on today is more specialized towards Airbnbs.
Okay.
And like
Okay.
Verbos or
interesting.
VRBOs, however you
Cool.
pronounce that.
Yeah.
And then they also, one thing that they do that's I've yet to find that a carrier that does a good job on it is if you have a camper and you Airbnb that camper out on your property,
Oh.
they actually do camper.
Wow.
Airbnbs.
Insurance
Yeah.
on that personal
Cool.
property.
Because
Yeah.
I've gone to book an Airbnb before and see somebody with a camper. I'm like, and that's just my
Like,
like
that's
You're
not
like,
insured.
I wonder if
Yeah,
that's
for
insured.
my insurance. And
I
everything's
actually have
mine.
a
I'm
couple
like,
clients
how do
that
they
are
do
doing that
Yeah.
here. So
Yeah.
Give them my number,
know.
and
Interesting.
have them give me a call.
Yeah.
So I sent you that Wall Street Journal. It was like 5:30 in the morning. I'm at the gym. I send you an article over.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's crazy. Home insurance is like
on the rise.
it's getting impossible
Yeah.
to get because of fire, because of
Oh.
whatever, if it's climate change or whatever it is exactly. But it's the amount of natural disasters that are happening,
Oh,
and
interesting.
insurance companies cannot afford to insure new policy holders.
I know we just like had to re-up our homeowners insurance policy and like bundled it. And there were a few carriers that wanted us to pay everything up front instead of like, usually
Instead
you
of
pay
through
your insurance
escrows?
monthly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even for auto insurance, like there were certain people we wouldn't go with because they wanted,
Yeah.
And I mean, that's, what, $4 or $5 grand by the time you,
Yeah,
home,
for the
auto,
annual.
everything. Like,
That's a
no,
huge chunk.
no
That's
thanks.
a huge chunk.
Yeah.
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 I've been doing insurance for about 9 years now, and I'm, next month is 2 years that I started my own agency and branched out on my own. And with all these carriers, there are some where, you can almost just tell they're trying to take a smaller portion of the market share. So you'll get a quote and it's like $6,000 a year for just
Like
the
super
home.
Yeah,
high.
they're
Yeah.
super high so
You're
that you
like-
don't bind
They
coverage.
don't
so you
want
just don't
you to,
bind it.
yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. So I'll go on to the next one, and then that one might be declined. So, the
Wow.
last like 6, 7, 8 months have been a pretty hard market. Like I feel like I'm getting a ton of calls, a ton of people wanting to, shop their insurance. And then it's
Yeah.
like, here's an option for you. And then some of them, like I have one carrier, they do a great job, but every now and then they'll just hit me with randomly like, well, we'll take this one, but they have to pay their auto insurance in full. And you're like, that's $3,800.
Yep.
Like, and it's, this is last month. It's December. It's Christmas
Yeah.
time.
Christmas
Can we
and
do
taxes
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
Yeah.
6
And-
months at a
Yeah.
time or something like
And
that. But
we had that one deal that we were doing where if the carrier would pick it up only if you could prove that the roof was not more than 20 years old.
I've had that question coming up.
That's a new
lot
thing. If
lately
the
from
roof's
buyers
not-
agents, it's
Yep.
like we need to know how old the roof is
Yeah,
because it's a huge
it's
factor.
a major rating factor. And
Yeah.
and I tend to tell a lot of people, like, I'm like, hey, if this home is more than 20 years old, like when was the last time the roof was renovated?
So you better have your receipt from when your roofing company
Yeah,
did
really.
it. And if you're buying a house, you better have that in the file when you buy it.
Yeah. Talk to the seller and be
Exactly.
like, hey, we replaced it 5 years ago. is there any way you can prove that?
The sellers are
They
like,
won't
oh,
take you at your word.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
I mean, unless like they pulled like the tax permit or
Well, you
not the tax permit.
should
but,
be able to go back to the contractor if you used a reputable, roofing company.
Yeah.
Oh, we did it
yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's even the thing like cadastral. I'm sure you guys use cadastral every
Yeah.
day.
Every
yeah.
day.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's where I'll get a lot of the specs of some houses, and cadastral's not always the most up to date on one.
No,
No.
definitely not. It's getting worse and worse, honestly.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and it's just like, well, I've talked to a couple people, and it's like, oh, well, because Montana, I don't know if you have to pull a permit to replace your roof, depending on where
think
you're
so.
at. And so if they don't pull a
Depends.
permit-
It depends on where you're at. I know in like City of Whitefish has like
Oh.
a specific permit for siding and roofing.
Oh, that
It's
makes
not a
sense.
full building permit. I believe Columbia Falls is the same way, and I believe Kalispell is. If you are in the
Really?
county, there's no
Yeah,
Wild
permit.
West.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think you're right. Kalispell, there's no
I
permit
don't
for
think
roof.
there is.
Yeah, but
yeah.
but Whitefish for sure.
yeah, and so that's just where, like, if I can't find that information on cadastral, I'll just kind of ask the new buyer, or ask, if the person's lived there for forever, then it's like, did you do it through insurance? Was it a hailstorm? Because we had that gnarly hailstorm.
Fun.
I wish I
last
had
2
gotten
summers
hit by
ago.
that.
Yeah.
We need a new roof.
Gosh.
Like, can we have another hailstorm?
Yeah.
Oh, please don't do that.
Oh no!
Sorry,
gonna make-
I take
It's
it
gonna
back.
it'll make our we won't be able
know.
to get insurance anymore, Megan.
You think rates and stuff are hard now? Just wait until we
Oh
have
my
another claim.
gosh!
Yeah.
That was a
Do
bad
you
one.
think is there a possibility of some of these companies becoming insolvent because of very soon? Like,
Maybe like a smaller company or something like that, but a lot of the carriers that like Goosehead brings on, they have to have, because they can't just be like, oh, hey, we're a startup and here's what we do. We want you guys and your agents and your agency owners to sell us, So a lot of the carriers that like Goosehead brings on are super reputable, and one of those things. But I mean, like a smaller, I don't know, like a smaller local not independent, but like carrier, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but they're backed up by,
yeah,
other
yeah,
funds and stuff
big
like that.
big
But-
big funds, big money
but yeah,
groups.
there's,
Yep.
I've seen where carriers are kind of starting to change things, where certain carriers are just having separate wind and hail deductibles, and so it's like it's a higher than your all peril deductible.
Oh, so they just base it on like the deductible
Yeah.
incident. Oh, interesting.
There's another question I started asking too.
Okay.
When we're under contract for a buyer, I've been asking the seller if they've made an insurance claim within the last 10 years that is over $10,000, because I heard too that it's even more uninsurable if it's like over
If it's
20
had
grand or something like that.
if it's had a claim made it already.
Yeah, within the last 10
Yeah.
years or something crazy.
And that's up to each individual carrier. Like I had one gentleman recently. They had a claim on their home. Not a big deal. It wasn't even that big of a claim.
Yeah.
But the new house, the new property that they were buying, had a claim as well. And so the carrier that I had set him up with was like, oh, we have to review this for underwriting, because I excluded the previous owner's claim for that property.
Oh, wow.
And so submitted everything, bound it, and underwriting got back to me, and they're like, well, they've had a claim and the property's had a claim. This is too high of risk for us. And they didn't issue the policy. So then
wow.
it was Black Friday. It was the day after Thanksgiving. So like I'm scrambling to get them something new in place. Luckily I was able to, having multiple options, but we had to go basically to like
Yeah.
the second best carrier, which I always quote a preferred product, but this one was like $150 a year more just on the homeowner's insurance side. I think the auto was like 70 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, the agent or the client was understanding, but it was kind of like a blow. I was like, dang,
Yeah.
Yeah.
dang it.
Crazy.
Dang
Why do
it.
you got to do this to me? But it happens.
Totally.
So is Goosehead like a nationwide company that you're with, and then you just kind of franchise your office here, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's a huge corporation basically,
Okay.
and they started out in Texas and then expanded into more and more states. And basically, you can just come in and you can buy your franchise, and that's basically what I did.
Like what Remax is, a franchise. Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
Okay.
once you got to be licensed. I had prior experience at another agency building that up. And so it was kind of just where I was like, all right, I kind of want to get out on my own.
Yeah.
Looked at joining them and basically talked to them for a couple months and was like, all right, let's do this. And didn't want to dink around too much. So I think I started talking to them in like December of 21. as an option, and I signed all my paperwork in like June, and by February I was down in Dallas doing their onboarding.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, I started selling policies, and like, man, I wish I would have done this a couple years
Yeah.
earlier. You know?
Yeah,
It's
totally. Especially
kind of
through
one
the
of
boom.
Yeah, yeah.
Dang it.
If I would have
Yeah.
known like what 20 and 21 was going to bring,
Right?
holy
Oh my
smokes.
goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Valley Vista Properties is a full-service property management company located in Kalispell, Montana. We manage long-term residential rentals, short-term and vacation rentals, commercial property, and homeowners associations. Our service area includes the greater Kalispell area, including Whitefish, Columbia Falls, Big Fork, Lakeside, Summers, and Kyla. Our owners have a combined 50 years of experience in property management, including a licensed real estate attorney and an IREM accredited residential manager. We're currently growing our portfolio in the Flathead Valley, and we would love the opportunity to serve you.
Tell us a little more about the founders of Goosehead. They moved up
They moved
here
up here in
Yeah,
Whitefish.
so they do. They have a house.
Oh,
They have a house
okay.
up here. And
on the mountain, right?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been.
I had Lori fly me over it. It's pretty awesome.
I think it's the largest home on Whitefish
It is.
Mountain.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
I think it's one of the largest
Yeah.
homes in Montana.
In Montana,
It-
yeah.
Wow.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but she was just a stay-at-home mom and wanted to make extra money, right? And that's how she founded her brokerage.
I think so. Like,
And she grew it into the largest.
yeah. So for
It was a woman that started it.
I
Robin
That's
Jones.
amazing.
Yeah.
I believe so. It's
Robin
a
Jones, yeah. So like she was the one that actually started it.
Wow.
And then her husband Mark, like supportive husband, and like I think he's the CEO, and their son is like the CFO or COO. Don't
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
should
for
see
being
if we can reach out and get
I
her
know, I
on the
was just
show.
thinking that.
Yeah, that would be
yeah,
crazy.
but they have. I mean, they have a few houses, a few different places. So I
Oh,
don't
I'm
think this is
sure.
like their
Yeah, this
primary
is not.
residence.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they own a big old home up on Big Mountain. I want to get an invite up there sometime. So
Yeah,
Sell
Ready?
sell some more
Yeah, I
policies.
need to sell a lot of policies probably to get the invite. But no, it's they basically just started, and people liked their model of what they were doing, and then they realized they could kind of expand their business by opening more offices with having agency owners. And just what they do is they have the whole service team behind me. So that was kind of one of the things that drew me into Goosehead, was the fact that I could focus mostly just on selling and taking care of
Yeah.
my client, and so I have a whole service team. That
You don't have to
is
do all the
behind me.
administrative stuff
Yeah.
that's going to tie you
Like,
down. And
Yeah, if I want to hire somebody, like I'll go through that process of bringing them on. But even with my franchise fee and stuff like that, all I have to do is get them the flight to Dallas, and Goosehead takes care of like the
Oh,
onboarding
wow.
and the training,
Nice.
and then I can kind of like mold them into what I want to, here's what I want to see type thing. But, yeah, so I don't know a ton about those guys. Like I've
That's
talked-
okay.
talked
That's
to them a
okay.
little bit,
We
yeah.
won't judge you.
Other than I know they have a big house here.
Yeah. No, that's okay. That's
Um,
okay. You know a lot about the insurance. That's what matters,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah,
We're we're just being nosy. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have employees working for you?
I don't. It's
You
just
don't?
me right now.
It's just
Yeah.
you?
Yep. It's
Very
just me.
cool.
And I mean, I'm
One
getting to
day.
the point. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
getting to the point now where it's like I could probably start thinking about that.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
then, and one thing that's really nice too is there's Facebook groups when you join Goosehead. There's other agency owners
Yeah.
out there that you can kind of reach out to for support and ask questions, and multiple times a day. It seems like, because it's a nationwide group where everybody's on there that owns an agency with Goosehead, and they're always like, do you pay him a salary? Do you just pay him on commissions? Like, how,
Yeah.
and so people give the pros and cons to each, and it's just like, I read that and I'm like, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm getting to the
Yeah.
point where it's like, I'm coming 2 years
That's
into
awesome.
into it next month. And so it's like, I'm there, but
It's a big leap of faith. We all three did that
I'm a
this
little
this year.
nervous, but
yeah,
It's a big leap of faith
Yeah.
be paying another employee. But
Yeah.
yeah.
adding one.
it's-
I've got an admin for the office already. So, and she's on salary, but then this one, is a different program, but for transaction coordinator. So
Yeah.
that's
You learn a lot when you start hiring people.
when you start
We're
hiring
totally-
people. Yes, we've had experiences in
Remember
the
that
past.
sign we threw out the window?
Yes.
Fun times.
Oh, man.
No, it's
There's a really good quote about the most important thing in building a business is building systems, because allowing systems to run the business and allow people to run the systems, because people change and people leave and systems don't. So
Yeah. Very true.
that's the key. Create systems in your business first, and then have people run those.
Yeah.
What I know we've talked a little bit about like, roofs and all that. What's some major things that homeowners could take away of like, what do they need to really consider about insurance in Northwest Montana, home insurance?
I mean, yeah, just property maintenance. It is one of those things. Like, I don't want to always harp on the roofs and go back to that, but that is a huge rating factor.
Okay.
How old the roof is. And then overall condition of the properties too can actually be one of those things. Like,
What about tree service, stuff like that?
yeah, depends on where you're at. Like, if you're in the city if you're within city limits and there's fire hydrants close by, trees typically, as long as they're not touching the homes, most carriers are okay. If you're kind of farther out city limits or outside of city limits, maybe no fire hydrants close by. Yeah, maybe trim those trees back. Don't have them.
Fire protection.
Yeah,
right?
it's just fire protection. Just creating a good gap between your home and any potential fire hazard, brush and fire. Also, like, if a tree blows over, could it hit the house? So if they're too tall, maybe either trim them up, shorten them a little bit, or I don't know. It's also one of those things too where I've had a few carriers that are like, oh well, those trees are too close. We'd want them to take them out, and it's like, dude, this is Montana. Like, we can't, 'cause
This ain't Texas.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you'll be
Seems
talking to
like
a
all the
carrier
people that
trying to
move here from Texas do want the trees down.
Yeah, that's true. They want to.
Yeah.
You're on the wrong side of the state. This is
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. You're like, oh, wait.
move to Chester. There's no trees there.
Yeah, I mean, I had a deal like that up in Rexford, and it was kind of one of those things where I was like, well, this carrier's looking pretty good, but they kind of want some of those trees trimmed up, and they're like, all right, yeah, well, will they give us some time to get that done? I'm like, yeah, they probably would, but like, just me being me, I'm like, I don't want to see you change that. Those trees are awesome.
Yeah.
It's also a part of the experience. You're moving up here.
Yeah,
live here
Right.
to be in
full-time,
Northwest
like,
Montana. Yeah,
live in the forest a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
that's just
Dang
me.
it.
Like, my property, yeah, I've got a bunch of trees. I hope my carrier's not listening to this, and they're like, oh, we got to check this out.
Rate adjustment.
yeah, here we go. So, but yeah, like, I mean, I live on 21 acres, and it's mostly forest, and so it's like, I like my trees.
Yeah.
I
Well,
wanna keep
yeah.
those around.
You don't want to take them all down?
No.
Privacy.
Cool. So, any plans? Anything that we should know about that's coming up for you in the future here with your business?
I don't think so. Just gonna keep grinding away. Yeah, keep
Just
selling
getting
what I
people
can.
good rates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, keep getting the rates that I can. I mean, it's like I've said a few times, it's a little bit of a hard market, but luckily I have multiple options to usually get something in place for somebody. So
Yeah. So what's the best kind of person for us to refer to you, or when's the best time to pass a referral on to you?
really about any time, because I've noticed, just doing it for the last 9 years, I've noticed there are certain types of households where it's like, oh, they're going to be a better fit with this carrier because they fit like what that carrier is looking for. No young drivers in household, or it's like, oh, if they do have younger drivers in household, let's go there. Recently widowed, unfortunately, there are certain carriers that are like, hey, we'll still give discounts as if there is 2 people in the household.
Oh,
Because
That's
that
cool.
can actually be a rating factor on some things
Really?
too. Yeah, it's kind of
Oh.
crazy. so-
interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, it's mostly on the auto side where I've seen that happen before. Because like multiple driver discounts,
Sure,
kind
yeah.
of type thing. But yeah, and then like there's certain carriers out there where certain households like fit better with one. Like if they have a wood burning stove, which again, this is Montana, so you
yeah.
Yeah.
can see that.
Yeah.
A lot of people want those.
Yeah, I've ran into that, like wood burning stove. I've run into that with like appraisers too. If it's the house is just wood heat, like a log cabin, and they're like,
yeah.
they don't have wood baseboard
Oh, I've
heaters,
run into that. Yeah, it's such a
electric baseboard,
Yeah.
Have
Does
to have a
that-
secondary heat source.
secondary heat source. Does that ever happen to you? If they is it insurable if they don't have a secondary heat source if it's just wood?
Yeah, there's a handful of carriers out there that'll just do like the wood stoves as the primary heat source.
Interesting.
It's gonna, you're paying for that.
It
though.
affects.
You're paying for that, yeah.
There's a
'Cause-
premium that's attached to that.
If you're in the middle of winter with a cold snap like this, and you're not tending your fire, if you're not at home tending your fire,
Right.
what's gonna happen to your pipes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like-
frozen pipes are a big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
and just like and the difference in fireplaces, like is it an actual like fireplace? Is it a prefab stove?
Yeah.
Does it also gas obviously has an on-off valve, different things like that can also be factors between the fireplace and the fuel type.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also log cabin. You mentioned that like there's again being Montana, you feel that there'd be a lot more options for solid log homes. but
Yeah.
not every carrier does them. So again, it's
Yeah.
just placing the characteristics of the home or clients with the correct carrier.
For sure. So, well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast, Rowdy. It was great
Yeah,
having
thank
you.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you
no,
very
for having me.
much.
This is awesome. This is fun.
Yeah. So if someone wants to reach out to you, what's your preferred methods?
You can find me. So I have a Facebook page, but Rowdy Fee at Goosehead Insurance. So that's pretty straightforward there. You can always shoot me an email. Give me a call, 406-204-3719. Email's just rowdy.fee@goosehead.com.
And it's ROWDY.
Yep.
FEE.
F-E.
Okay.
Rowdy
No
Fee.
crazy fees
Rowdy
with
Fee.
Rowdy Fee.
Yeah.
Gonna get rowdy with you on the. Not gonna get rowdy on the rates. No.
Try my best.
Good deal. Well, hey, it's always a pleasure. It's a pleasure having you on, and we'll have you back here for like an update with things after the summer, maybe after
Yeah,
fire
that'd be great.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fire season's always
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, we'll have you back.
There's
Yeah.
times where I'm just like praying for rain. You know?
Yes, we
sure.
all.
Try my
We
best to
all
do like
are.
rain dances and all that stuff.
Oh,
Call it down.
I'm out in my
maybe we should
yard.
do a live
Yeah.
with Rowdy's rain dance.
Rowdy's rain
Rowdy's rain
dance.
Yeah, might help. Who knows? It might help. So
Oh, good deal. Well, thank you very much to our viewers and listeners. If you would, please share, like, and subscribe wherever it is that you listen.